we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could like, share, subscribe. Subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we come back at you with a great, and exciting Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse, plus also as well anything that we're doing in the universe, great interviews, tabletop RPG action, and so much more. So go ahead and check it out by subscribing today on YouTube or making sure you like our Facebook page, because if you like our Facebook page, then you'll get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Pop Culture Cosmos or PCC Multiverse. And of course, our good friends, of course, at Humana Comedians. Go ahead and Happy Hoarder Collectibles. Go ahead and check out what's going on and what's for sale for you that you can buy today. You went to Comic-Con or you saw a Comic-Con and you want to go ahead and hear all about the good stuff in pop culture. Well, there's nothing but X-Men talk, Teenage Mutant Ninja talk, DC talk, Power Ranger talk, a whole bunch of talk, Barbie talk as well. So there's no better place to go ahead and buy some of those collectibles than right now at happyhoardercollectibles.com. And if you could like all that, plus our good friends Melinda and Robbie over at Vampires and Vitae, and of course Wizards and Wine, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. You know, it's the man looking at all the different collectibles that were sold exclusively at Comic-Con. It's a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at happyhoardercollectibles.com. It is Josh the Great, Josh Pederson, munching and crunching his way through today's show. Good to have you here, my friend. Back talking pop culture once again.
Here, sorry, I was just tuning on some goldfish here, but yeah, the
Are they well, okay? What flavor? What flavor?
they're just regular cheddar goldfish this time. I had some of some like Cheez-It, the ranch, the zesty cheddar and ranch chips or crackers. Absolutely amazing, but my wife likes them too, so I can't just like
pretzel flavor. That's all I'll say. But great to have you here, my friend. Josh, are you still with me? Josh, are you there?
Yes. Oh no.
I got a pop from you. Your Wi-Fi is going all over the place.
Okay, sorry. I opened a web page that I think was a little heavier than it needed to be. But yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here. Right, yeah, so I was asking you if you've ever had Dot's pretzels, like the ones that come in like the Southwest seasoning and the original. Absolutely amazing. Anyways, sorry.
No, I believe me, I love my share of pretzels. Absolutely. I know pretzel.com has been trying to influence me on trying to buy stuff from them. I know they have a lot of different flavors there, so I'm looking at that. But also, again, rolled gold is the standby. So, I'm giving a shout out to all the pretzel manufacturers out there, but nothing beats the super pretzel. Large, soft, tasty super pretzel. The salt is just done right.
Oh, you get some nice nacho cheese in there.
There you go. I prefer the mustard. You prefer the nacho cheese. Any which way you slice it, a good pretzel is a good pretzel indeed. But it's going to be a great show we've got for everyone out there today. We're going to be talking a lot of great things, including Comic-Con. We recap Comic-Con and how it's not exactly like the Comic-Con we were hoping it would be for the Comic-Con. So we'll talk about the Comic-Con later here in the show. Plus also as well, Xbox coming off its big win against the FTC decides to throw a curveball at us, getting rid of Xbox Live with Gold. What did they replace it with? Kind of confusing. And we'll talk about that coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, Barbenheimer. Barbenheimer is the key, my friend. Barbenheimer scored at the box office like no other this year. It's been the biggest weekend of the year for the movie industry. You had Barbie coming out to a record $155 million domestically and over $330 million worldwide, the biggest ever for a female director. And it just really just taking off by leaps and bounds. It exceeded Hollywood's expectations by, well, by over $50 million by some estimations. Oppenheimer, which again, as I told you before we went on the show, and I'd actually mentioned this on the show, I thought they were going to cannibalize each other, especially at the cost of Oppenheimer. That wasn't to be the case because the great hype marketing of the Barbenheimer, Barbie and Oppenheimer concept of going to see both movies, that movie has also overperformed to an $80 million domestic clip, and that also has earned over $150 million worldwide at the box office as well. Both are considered to be really, really big hits as far as their beginnings are concerned. Your thoughts on the big and much needed boost for the industry for Barbenheimer?
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how many people were going to see this movie. I know Oppenheimer was, is a Chris Nolan movie, but like after remembering Tenet's performance in the box office, I didn't imagine it was going to do amazing. Like same thing with Dunkirk. Like it's one of those movies that people slowly trickled into. I was not
Tenet, I
expecting
don't
it.
think you could take really because that was okay. The movie was different, but it also came out at a very
Right,
not so good time.
right. But remember, that was a movie that was supposed to bring people back to the box office.
Yeah, that was Christopher Nolan. What he wanted you to think it was going
Uh
to come
huh.
back to the box office, and
Yeah, and
unfortunately, other things took place that
that
prevented from doing so.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the marketing done for Barbie has been amazing. Like
Yes,
I have been going on social media and I've been seeing like photos of like everybody I know dressed in pink saying on my way to the Barbie movie. So something is obviously happening in that movie that people are enjoying. So yeah, I mean it's great to see to see the numbers that they're doing, the money they're bringing in. Oppenheimer hasn't quite surpassed the Flash yet, but Barbie is at like what's all the way up at the number 11 spot here. So
excuse me, Oppenheimer will be doing that by next week, which is
oh
tells
yeah.
you how sad the Flash is.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's very possible to see like I don't know. I mean, maybe Barbie could be the next movie to cross $1 billion.
I believe it's on its
It
well
has
on
the
its way to
legs.
doing so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has the leg.
And then with the disappointment of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is a really good movie and I think people should check that out. I was concerned, Josh, because that movie also had a lot of hype, a lot of advertising, a lot of promo dollars to it, and when that movie didn't score well, I had my concerns. And I'm glad to see this was to me, I think the last possible weekend you were going to see a blockbuster opening for any movie, or in this case movies, because my friend, if it didn't happen this week, I'm not sure it was going to happen for the rest of this year. I'm honest with you, I'm just so concerned about the box office industry. People are coming back and all that, but we've seen so many failures. I was just worried that Barbie and Oppenheimer would have the same the lasting effect as well.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a lot. I mean, look at the movies, all right? Like, if we're looking at box office mojo, you're looking at the movies in the top 15 places, right? You have The Flash, Indiana Jones, and the Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible, Transformers, Rise of the Beast, Ant-Man, Quantumania. All these movies were supposed to be our summer
Indiana
blockbusters.
Jones.
Yeah, they were supposed to be our summer blockbusters, the things that like really pumped money and life into the movie industry, but they haven't quite performed like that. So, seeing a movie like Barbie climbing into the top 10 spot is definitely I don't know, a sigh of relief.
It is that there still can be hit movies out there, because I was wondering if what will, Melinda and I have been going back and forth on exactly what will bring her and other individuals back into the movie theater. She still hasn't gotten back to the movie theater yet, but I think Barbie is going to be doing that and has done that this weekend for a lot of people who haven't been going to check out movies as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry. I'm crunching right now.
I
Give me a
got
second.
you in mid crunch. That's okay. But I will say though that Oppenheimer and Barbie just coming off what is again the actually one of the best weekends of the year. In fact, the best weekend since Avengers Endgame for domestically for as far as overall as far as audience because it went over $300 million domestically at the box office. If you include all the movies out there, Sound of Freedom, you also include Indiana Jones, you also include Mission Impossible, you include all the other movies that are on there. It went over $300 million, which again is the biggest weekend since Avengers Endgame, which tells you the power of what still going to the movies can be all about.
Yeah, I think once we see a movie cross, 400 million in its opening weekend, then we'll see like a nearing the return of the good old days.
Yeah, absolutely. I see some pink behind you, my friend. So I will tell everybody out there there are Barbie products on happyhoardercollectibles.com. Just go to the Mattel section.
Absolutely.
You see, I see actually several Barbie products, and I have a feeling that the owner of Happy Hoarder Collectibles will be acquiring more Barbie products in the near future for holiday gift season. I have just a funny feeling based off the success of Barbie.
Yeah, it's looking that way. So
It is looking that way.
yeah.
Absolutely. But my friend, obviously, it's going to lead into what the studio will want next for Barbie, which is going to be a Barbie sequel and so on and so forth, which is just the way how this works. But I have a feeling the reason why, partly as well, that these movies did so well this weekend and why Mission Impossible may not have done as well is again, if people are going back to something, they want to go back to something newer and fresher. And Barbie and Oppenheimer do not have any long-standing platforms or franchises or IPs that they have to go off of. These two are their own standalone movies. And in order to go ahead and succeed, I think that's partly the reason why is that people were looking for a fresh movie to go back to, and they found two of them this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Also, it was very hot outside, like all over the place. So I imagine going into the movie theaters with a nice air conditioner and a cold beverage and maybe an icy. Like I have a feeling that might have contributed a little bit, but
A cold $9 beverage and a $10 icy.
a cold $10 icy, a $9 small Coca-Cola.
Something like that. I did get a chance to check out Barbie this past weekend with the girls. I do recommend it. It's to me it was very good, and my daughters absolutely loved it. Absolutely have nothing but great things to say about it, which warmed my heart just to come out of there and just see that they had a very positive experience with the film. I thought it was very good. And Greta Gerwig, who is now going to be one of the hottest names out there in the directorial market, if she wasn't already, is definitely seeing a lot of great success from it. Just the way that they were able to go ahead. Josh, I won't give away too much as far as the detail. It's kind of like a Pinocchio type story. I equate it to as far as some similarities in its structure, but also as well, it also knowingly, very knowingly talked about the different waves of popularity over the decades for Barbie, both for and negatively, about how people have thought about Barbie in the beginning when there was a backlash about what Barbie represented. And then, of course, we come to what today overall. So I think that it was very, complimentary of them to go ahead and be able to address those things as far as Barbie's past and where it could go from here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Barbie definitely has a cultural footprint that has echoed throughout time. Yeah, I mean, where Barbie came from was not, what Barbie originally was might not have been like the most, family friendly type of thing. But now, like, look at it, like it Barbie inspires kids all over the world to do all kinds of different things, and there's a Barbie out there for everyone. Barbie has made toys accessible for people of all ages, types, even I would say handicaps and skin types and all like there it's you can't look at what Barbie has done and say that it hasn't done good in people's lives.
Well, there was a period of time when Barbie was on the outs with a lot of individuals out there, as far as, and they addressed that. There's scenes where they addressed as far as how the younger population viewed Barbie at one point in time or the other. But then they've also talked about, and they also go ahead and make sure you know about what Barbie's intent was, what their representation was, and of course, like you said, what Barbie has evolved to now as far as representing so many things to so many people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't recall a time. I mean, I never like collected Barbies or anything, but
You are now.
yeah, for the happy hoarder. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, walking by Walmart, see, like going through Walmart and seeing their like middle section with all the Barbie movie stuff in there, like they have done a phenomenal job at not just marketing the movie, but all the products surrounding the movie too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I still have like a Millennium Barbie, like right around 2000, a couple other Barbies. Again, my girls weren't very much into Barbies for whatever reason at the time. They just uh, leaned on other things at that point in time. But you know, they went to the movie with, they were excited for it. They were wearing pink. They got me wearing a little pink, although actually it was just basically the Squid Game, and it had some pink lettering on it. So Squid Game, what can you do? But it they led me into, they were excited about it, and that's really what matters. It's just that you're excited at its event. You talked about before how an event, it needs to be an event to get people back to the theaters,
Yeah.
and that's why I think it did so well, is because this was an event for so many different people.
Yeah, we haven't had any pop culture events in a long time, and this, like I said, going on social media, seeing all the people posting pictures of themselves going to see it, seeing the celebrities going out and posting pictures of themselves, it created momentum for this movie, and I think that it's done, great things for it.
What are your thoughts out there on Barbie and Oppenheimer? We'd love to hear your thoughts. As you know, there's been some great records that were broken today, this weekend for the box office. Please let us know your thoughts on Barbie and Oppenheimer. Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we hit the half hour break, I do want to touch a little bit more on it. And that is, I want to hear your question. Which are you more surprised of, as far as the analysts and what they said, as far as how well Barbie and Oppenheimer did? Which are you more surprised about? The money that was made by Barbie well over expectations, or the money that was made by Oppenheimer well over expectations, especially internationally for Oppenheimer?
So I don't know, I'm not really surprised that Barbie made a lot of money. I am kind of surprised that, Oppenheimer, because like I said, Oppenheimer is, Chris Nolan movies are traditionally like they're slow burners. They make a lot of money, but it takes a little bit of time to get there. So, yeah, I know I'm excited to see the money that both did, and I don't think anyone really saw either of them doing or being as successful as they were.
When it comes to Oppenheimer, the reason why I say that is because, of course, who Oppenheimer is and how important, this was something we kind of talked about on the Friday show, how important this individual is to human history as a whole, whether you like it or don't like it. And, whether, you just have to recognize that he is the creator, for all intents and purposes, of the atomic bomb. And just the fact that, what surprised me is not only the fact that people were willing to go ahead and check this out on, and to find out and learn more about this man who, history and something we really don't talk about too much. When you go to the history books, you read over, who made it, who created, what it ended up doing, the damage it caused, and the after effects of it, and now the age of what we have as far as, the nuclear equation and all this. But you never really talked about the man himself. You talked about Oppenheimer and the legacy that he has, and the legacy that was Oppenheimer go into it. This touches a great deal upon that. I was very intrigued to see as far as how many people were interested in it, not just because it's a Nolan film, not just because it's an all-star film, just because of the fact of the subject matter. But the thing that surprised me, as I mentioned before, is the international audience that is going to see this film. That surprised me even more, that it actually parallels the above expectations that was made here in America, that was also made above expectations everywhere else it was being played.
Yeah, that is interesting. However, I feel like, with the films, historical films especially, like there is always going to be an audience all over the world for movies like that. Like even looking at Ridley Scott's Napoleon film, like I think that that is going to do amazingly overseas too, because people like to see how history is interpreted by different people in different places. Oppenheimer obviously was was the time that that was happening, is a very dark point in our history. But you look at it, and these people were under the impression that they were going to end up saving the world, and that's just such an interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's just such an interesting clash of ideas there, and I think that that is what drives a lot of people to it, because like everyone knows what his work was used for, but nobody really, like you said, nobody really knows much about the man and what drove him.
So now the search begins, my friend, for more original IP for such as Barbie and Oppenheimer, my friend. It's easy to go ahead and look out for one, an idea, a concept that might resonate with audiences. It's just something though else though that you want to bankroll 100 to 300 million dollars, like Barbie and Oppenheimer. Barbie and Oppenheimer are not cheap movies. And Barbie, Blue Magic, thanks so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. As I said earlier, Barbie is a really, really good film. I enjoyed it. And the most important fact is my daughters really, truly enjoyed it. They thought it was a really fantastic film, and I thought it was really good myself. But the thing is, as far as creating, these type of movies, because you have always, more than anybody I know, cannot stand the continuous love of Hollywood for franchise films. Yet they're like safe. They're safe material for these Hollywood studios to go back to. We now have a weekend where we have not only one but two original properties to go off of. You can find all these original stories that are out there, but it's really hard to go ahead and make them connect with audiences, and to really think that you're going to spend 100, 300 $1 million making these movies and think they're going to pay you back.
Yeah, right. I mean, whatever you do now with Hollywood, you're taking a risk, because the landscape is so unpredictable. You don't know like what people want to watch, what people are going to go take the time to leave their houses to go see. Barbie's great, but what a problem I foresee with Barbie is having a bunch of spin-offs, of different like Barbie characters.
You
And
which you will.
mhm. So I guess, like, how far will they take Barbie's success is the question here.
And that's the thing. With the marketing campaign literally sold itself by just making sure pink would be just inundated, throughout their advertising campaign. So that was part of it easy, but obviously getting the word out, that's the harder trick. But yeah, just getting this kind of success is going to be difficult for these original IPs to continuously doing. I mean, that's always the reason why they fall back. They fall back on familiar properties. Devotion, great to have you here. Truly appreciated. But yeah, we're talking Barbie and Oppenheimer, the great success that they had this weekend. I really think though that it's going to be very reluctant, even for studios looking for that next Barbie and Oppenheimer, to really put their faith in spending 100 to 300 million dollars on an original IP continuously, because they don't believe, like I do, that you're continuously going to get these kind of results.
No, and it's very possible too that this might have just been a pure fluke that these two movies did so well. You really don't like, yeah, hit have movies hit that three times, and then maybe there will be something to the statistics will be easier to read. But yeah, it's also very possible that these two movies are just pure flukes, and it might not happen again.
And that's one thing I would worry about, because again, you and I both want more originality in our films, more original properties that we can go ahead and see, instead of just the same formulaic, action, the same formulaic numbers of just a sequel after sequel after sequel. I think that's why, again, part of the charm for Barbie and Oppenheimer was there. But Tears of Joy says Barbie looks like it would give me a headache. You know what? tears of joy. I can just tell you nothing. It was a great time. It was a great experience. There's not as much pink as you think. So if I think you should give it a try. I think it's again a great experience. I had nothing but great time with my daughters catching it. And again, if you want to go ahead and take a look at, and as far as see and understand Barbie, how Barbie has been interpreted through the years, I think the movie itself does a great thing in doing just that. And Oppenheimer, nothing but great reviews for it. It's actually one of the best reviews movies of the century. So I'm really looking forward to catching that. It's also, Josh, as well. Barbie was clocked in just under 2 hours. Oppenheimer is clocked in around the 3 hour mark. That's different approaches about how things can go ahead and take place. And as you know, the 2 hour movies are better suited for more box office, just simply the fact that you can put out more showings in a different day, in a course of a day, that you could go out more showings, more showings, more showings than Oppenheimer. It's interesting to see that Barbie obviously got it over $155 million domestically and $330 million worldwide, but Oppenheimer at an hour longer still didn't too bad. It still didn't do too bad itself.
It's funny with Chris Nolan movies. That your butt's gonna be in that chair for a little bit over 2 hours. You like everyone that goes to see a Chris Nolan movie knows exactly what they're getting into.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite Christian Nolan movie, by the way? Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh, I like Interstellar. It's hands down my favorite Chris Nolan movie.
Gets kind of off in that third act, though.
It does, but like the whole movie is so engaging. Whereas like Inception was cool, but it was a lot of motion, but Interstellar, like the whole time they're challenging your senses, like all of them. And
I
I
like I
really
liked
appreciate.
Interstellar. I think the first and third act are kind of one. First act kind of draws itself out. Third act kind of gets a little weird, but overall, I think it was a good picture as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great film, and we don't have a lot of movies like science fiction, space travel movies out there anymore. So I definitely appreciated it.
Absolutely. A second act, like you said, when they're actually exploring the planet and the various, and trying to solve exactly how they can go ahead and save humanity. That part of it, I think, really resonated with me as well. Inception, I think I like better than you. I just like the concept, and again, it's for some it could be a little bit hard to follow, but I really think that for me it was kind of good. And of course, The Dark Knight. A lot of people talk about that as being one of Christopher Nolan's crowning achievements in the superhero genre. So absolutely. And he's talked about in recent days about, possibly helming a James Bond movie, and said that would be an honor for him to do as well.
Yeah, I saw too. He had said no more superhero movies, but he's not opposed to the idea of doing a Star Wars film.
Interesting. Absolutely. I would love to see him delve into that. And then, of course, James Bond. I would love to see his take on that as well. Interesting that he's embracing these franchises as opposed to shunning it. When somebody reaches a level of success, let's say like a Scorsese or, a number of other individual directors, great directors out there that have achieved a certain level of success, they kind of thumb their nose to these franchise films or to these franchise opportunities. And I think that's actually really great that Christopher Nolan is not shying away from it, because it sounds like to me it sounds like he's an actual everyday movie fan when he talks like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing I do wonder though, like if he were to do something for House of Mouse, Star Wars, for example, how much freedom would they give him? We look at like Aladdin was not a great movie, but it had a very known director behind it, Guy Ritchie, and from what I understand, like so much of that movie got cut out. Same thing with Star Wars,
Rogue One, and then
Rogue One, yeah.
Solo. And
Hmm.
Solo, they changed directors, simply because of the creative differences. I don't think Christopher Nolan would go into it with any blindness. I think him and Disney would probably have an understanding, and Kathleen Kennedy, in charge of Lucasfilm, they would have an understanding before he went ahead and approached a type of Star Wars film.
Oh, they'd have to, yeah, and he's definitely someone that would walk off the set, like, if things got too, controlled.
Absolutely, but him doing a James Bond feature, that would be really
Be
interesting.
great. Yeah, I'd love
Yes.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just throwing out the ideas there, hoping that he will actually go ahead and pursue those challenges. I'm not betting on it, my friend. I'm not betting on him getting back into franchise films because he's doing well now with Oppenheimer and doing well with studios, even with Tenet and how that turned out. But he's doing well as far as being able to produce his own original films, his own original IPs, and not having to rely on jumping into a franchise film.
Yeah, and that's something he's always really succeeded at, though. Everyone wants to see like Batman, I think was the first franchise he'd ever done, but
Yeah.
everyone wants to see the next Nolan movie. What's he doing? Interstellar, Dunkirk, Memento, I think was a
Inception. Yep. Memento
Inception.
was
Yeah.
that's the one that put him on the map. Have you
Yeah.
seen Memento? That is a trip.
Yes, yes, I have seen it. I love it, but it's not something that I feel any need to go back and watch again.
It is something that if you're a connoisseur of the arts per se, I'd say you go check it out. I'm not sure if you're a regular everyday fan, you're gonna be able to enjoy it or sit through it and enjoy it as much. But if you really like the art aspect inside of it, which he does, I really think Memento is a good film to go ahead and check out.
Absolutely. If you're someone that liked browsing the shelves at Blockbuster looking for like something interesting to watch, Memento is definitely a movie you'd enjoy.
Memento indeed. But it is Barbie and Oppenheimer scoring huge numbers at the box office. How excited are you going ahead and check out Barbie and Oppenheimer? I enjoyed Barbie and looking forward to going ahead and checking out Oppenheimer. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, 1/2 hour down, my friend. 1/2 hour to go here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Truly appreciate it. Before we head on out, my friend, got to mention some stuff went on at Comic Con, and you mentioned Blockbuster Video, a favorite of yours. You even have the shirt, but in the previous segment, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about Comic Con because they had. Mentioned this last week with Melinda, but I thought I mentioned you. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Lego actually had a booth that was created to be a representation of Blockbuster Video and actually had Blockbuster Video on the side. Your thoughts on that from Lego?
I did see that, and that was really cool. I haven't actually gotten to see any pictures of what the inside of the booth looks like, just the outside.
It looked like it had the same kind of shelving, a condensed version, of course, in many ways, but it looked like same kind of shelving and racks there. Just brings back memories for a lot of people out there. I know that just a shame that we no longer have those things like Blockbuster Video, Hollywood Video, and the like, those video stores that for the most part they are done with. But again, with in the world of streaming, where everything is now easier to get a hold of and digital and all that, I think it's probably understandable. But yeah, I'm looking at it now, Josh. Looking at it on the screen, does have the exact same type of shelving that you're used to, my friend.
Yeah, I know, and I could see in the background their product lined up on it, just like their old VHS tapes. That's really cool.
Absolutely, and all the all the movies that were said they were available, but then you go up to the counter and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this has been rented out, sir."
I know, and you hover around the return box. Can you check now?
Yes, yes. Can you check? Is it there? Is it there? Is it
Yeah.
there?
Yep.
I
Oh,
remember those days well.
the joys of going to Blockbuster.
Absolutely. So, I will tell you though that Comic Con, it was still extremely well attended. Of course, you spent so much money in advance, you're going to go to
Mhm.
Comic Con. It wasn't attended by a lot of members. The majority and most of the individuals that are related to SAG and AFTRA because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, which again put a huge dent in Comic Con this past weekend with all the individual companies and representation like Marvel, DC, and the list goes on and on of individuals that companies that did not go to Comic Con and Hall H this year. How disappointed were you as far as the results of that and the after effects? There were still a lot of pop culture properties that were there, and we'll talk about that. But how big of a hit was that overall for you this year at Comic Con?
I don't know. This was the first year that I hadn't like sat on the computer waiting for things to be announced because like there really was not. I kept looking. I was like, hey, what's going on at Comic Con? And it just very slowly things were trickling out, and I don't know, it did not have the same excitement level that did before because normally, we're watching the Marvel and DC panels and things like that. It was saying like looking at like, oh hey, what's coming out? What little morsels are you gonna give us to tide us over? But there's really nothing, like we all knew there's another season of Invincible, more Walking Dead and the Boys stuff. Like there really wasn't like the Borderlands thing. They announced the movies coming, like the date of the movie. There really was not anything like exciting here that I walked away thinking like, oh man, I can't wait for that to happen.
And this is again, as I talked to you before the show, that these are all the major news items that you saw here that were happening this past weekend were basically the stuff in a normal year at Comic-Con are just filler. Even the Spider-Man, as far as the story trailer that was put out there and the announcement of the PS5, PlayStation 5 DualSense controller and actual PlayStation 5 Spider-Man 2 themed console, which actually looks pretty good. I'm not a Spider-Man fan, huge Spider-Man fan per se, but I know someone like you might be attracted to it.
Yeah, no, I mean that stuff was all well and cool and like the Spider-Man trailer that they put out there for the game. I just nothing wowed me there. There's nothing that kind of like maybe I did enjoy a lot of the collectibles being pushed out, but for the most part, I don't know. I'm just not interested.
And that's a shame because, again, with Comic Con, it's supposed to be the major pop culture event of the entire year. And due to the SAG-AFTRA strike and what's going on, I see events like this being affected for the near future for quite some time, actually. I don't see the SAG-AFTRA strike going away anytime soon.
No, I definitely don't either. Like, nobody on either side seems to want to talk to anybody about anything going on. So, yeah, it's affecting movies. It's affecting public appearances. It's affecting Comic Cons. This definitely something like this would definitely have the potential to ruin a Comic Con. Like if these people pay all this money to make these things happen, and then you have all these people not show up to it, is can be financially detrimental to an organization like that.
So I ask you, my friend, when you see the list of things that happened, again, you talked about what went on a little bit with Marvel. They debuted the trailer for the Marvels, but outside of comics, the section there that they did make some announcements on some upcoming changes to and upcoming additions that they're making to their comic book line. You did get a chance to see the first trailer, or excuse me, the upcoming trailer for the upcoming movie, The Marvels. And then you also saw with what's going on with The Walking Dead with Daryl Dixon. You also saw the Dead City was renewed for second season. Both of those shows were. And then you got to see finally a little teaser, which coming up for next year. Rick Grimes finally coming back. So you're going to see the two big stars for the Walking Dead finally live out. This was once supposed to be a Rick Grimes movie a long time ago, long time ago, back when there was going to be 16, 17 million viewers each and every week for the Walking Dead watching the show. It was going to be this Rick Grimes movie, this big event that appease the fans of The Walking Dead. Now it has turned into a mini series, a small limited series coming next year to AMC, and it's not even titled Rick Grimes, or it's not even titled Rick and Michonne. It's just titled, something else that really it just seems like all the steam has come out of that part of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised to see like how many people tune into this because I feel like all the steam has come out of just that franchise in general. So how are they going to get people interested in this new product that's supposed to put a bow on the franchise's main protagonist?
I would have said The Walking Dead, Rick and Michonne, instead of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. I mean, you've got the return of Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera. I don't know how long they're going to stay or how long this series is. I can't imagine it's going to be very long because both have other things that they want to do. And Andrew Lincoln's probably still just like raking in, the money from those wherever The Walking Dead's being played at around the world, except for streaming, where obviously they don't get residuals very well, which is the reason why SAG-AFTRA is
Yeah.
striking. But I just think that again, I don't know what they're doing really a whole lot with The Walking Dead. They earned some decent ratings with Dead City, but it's just not the same with Walking Dead.
They should have just called the show Grimes, and I think that would have been like a pretty spectacular title.
Grimes and Michonne. I think because those two were really a great part of that show.
Yeah, or they should have just called it Carl and
Carl, Carl,
Carl.
Carl, Carl. Tears of Joy, thank you so much appreciate your kind thoughts on that. Through the Wire, did Josh see Barbie? No, not as of yet, but his wife has indicated that he should be taking him and the family to go see it pretty soon and not too distant
Yes.
future. So I'm going to go ahead and try and check out Oppenheimer. I still got my list. I still got Mission Impossible. I want to go check out. I even still want to check out Indiana Jones. I still want to check out all those in the theater before they go away. I know my time in other devotions, including pardon the pun, devotion, but time with other things that I'm devoting my time to, including the Lakers fast break. It's got to go ahead and give me a little bit more time to go ahead and check out these films like in the old days. But I will say though, when it comes to Comic-Con, kind of disappointed again. Arcade 1-Up giving you just another variation of the Marvel versus Street Fighter Capcom type thing as far as what they introduced. You saw a couple weeks ago, they introduced another regurgitation of NBA Jam. I mean, my friend, Arcade 1-Up, if they don't change up their policy on what they do as far as getting IPs, they could be out of business sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely
Oh, I'm
need.
sorry. I forgot about the hunting one, the big buck
But
hunting game.
how they already have that though? It's been done already. So
But
like
they're doing it again.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. Like
They make larger versions, more
right.
arcade size. That.
But like we talked about last week, there are other properties out there that they can be going after. Like if I had, I love Galaga, right? And if I had a Galaga arcade and they're like, oh, but there's a special edition Galaga arcade, I don't like Galaga enough to pay another $500-$600 for a special edition cabinet. If it's like
Somebody mentioned Smash TV and Robotron being together, that as a twin stick shooter, that would be really cool.
right, like yeah, there's a ton of things out there that have not been mined for Arcade 1-Up. They just don't.
They just want to go do it. Sell your soul
Yeah.
for Nintendo. If they sold their soul for Nintendo and got the Nintendo arcade games from the 80s, that would do it. That would revive the home arcade marketplace. I mentioned WWF, but that's going to be a not licensing nightmare to get all the previous wrestlers and whatnot. So I understand, I get that, but you should go to Nintendo, pitch to Nintendo a partnership. Nintendo could really much do it on their own and make $1 trillion off it. But if I was Arcade 1-Up before I went out of business, I'd try to go ahead and do just that.
Well, or even Sega, like there's a bunch, like if you put Golden Axe on an arcade or Streets of Rage, like there's a lot of properties there that people would pay for. I would buy a Golden Axe arcade. Absolutely.
There you go. That's a good one. But I think that Sega, like you said, even a Sonic the Hedgehog, from the 80s, from the original early days of the Genesis days, even if that was reformatted into a home arcade system, that would be really cool with like 15 to 20 different variations of Sonic. I mean, there's so many different variations of Sonic you could put on one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You could have a like Sonic greatest hits collection, that goes all the way from 1 to 3D Blast and even the iOS Sonic 3 that they put out, or Sonic 4, I think it was. But yeah, there's a ton of content that could be mined there. And Sega would be more than happy to do it, I'm sure, because they look for any opportunity they can to put out as many Sonic games as they can.
And it's just a concern because again, as you and I both have home arcade units in the home, you've had Arcade 1-Up, I have Arcade 1-Up now. It's just a shame to see that this market, this industry, where there's still life for it, if you think about it, it's not being done. It's not being executed. II Arcade, they just like I mentioned last week, they're out of business. Legends, at home Legends, that is kind of like drifted away into nothingness.
Yeah,
It is
they do
just really
pinball machines now.
yeah, so with Stern, Stern is still trying to dominate itself in the pinball marketplace. But when it comes to what you're seeing now with Arcade One Up and all that, I just think for the home arcade market, there's still properties you can get at which could bring life to the marketplace, but they're choosing not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why. Like they don't want to put out the money for it, but also like if you're paying money to put out these machines and expecting people to pay $500 or $600 for it, that doesn't seem like a worthy investment either.
No, and if you're Walmart, who's been stuck with a lot of these, who thought it was initially a great concept and they did sell through them well, but ended up eating a lot of them or trying to clearancing out a lot of them, you have to be sold on why is it good to continue to carry arcade one-ups. And if that's the case of you pitching to them a Mario Brothers or a Donkey Kong, boom, you've got some sales right there.
Yeah, and plus like Walmart's kind of like making smaller their physical media section. So like what you really have to make that space that the arcade one-ups take on their aisles worth the price of having them sit there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was just again another small part of what we saw and what we heard went on at Comic-Con, talking about as well some of the great things. Again, all the Walking Dead announcements, all the announcements for John Wick and the Continental as far as getting the spin-off that's going to be coming to Peacock that's going to premiere on September 22nd. So it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see. Talking about what Mortal Kombat 1, which I already asked you about Mortal Kombat 1. What was your thoughts about going back and forgetting all the numbers and ditching the numbers and going back to number 1 as a reboot now to include Homelander, Peacemaker, and some of the older, more legacy characters as well?
Yeah, I said I really like the idea of that.
Okay. All right. Tears of Joy says does Walmart still have DVDs? Not really. They do still have the clearance sections. You'll find. I think they still have at least another couple good years, especially on Black Friday, to sell those $5 DVDs, which they're
Mhm.
known for. But I think the most it has transitioned to Blu-ray and now especially to 4K Blu-ray. If you go there, Heavy Duty says, Gerald, your legend gets Zorro Magic Man to talk movies with you. They try to do it sometimes on the fast break, but that definitely will go ahead and do just that. Tears of Joy says, do you guys still play movies on tape? That's a good
Actually,
question.
yeah, sometimes I still have a VHS player.
Well, I will say I do no longer. I still have VHS tapes. I don't have a VCR, amazing enough, anymore in my life. But I may have to do just that. But if you're a collector, as Josh will tell you, there's some valuable VHS tapes out there that can sometimes sell in the hundreds and even thousands and tens of thousands if you find the right one.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, especially since like what 2 years ago, you can buy a lot of them for like 50 cents each.
Absolutely. So you just got to
Garage
find
sales.
the.
Just go to
Yep.
garage sales.
Go to garage sales, go to swap meets, see if you can try and pick something up, or try to go to your local pawn shop or go to your local Goodwill. You may be able to find and get lucky because these there are VHS tapes that are actually worth a lot out there. So go ahead and check it out. But these are some of the things that we saw at Comic Con. Again, some very notable things, but nothing huge. And I think the SAG after strike really killed it for a lot of individuals out there. And a great part of what is every year at Comic Con was hurt by what happened. So hopefully we can get back on the right track with Comic Con next year. Please let us know your thoughts on San Diego Comic Con. It's popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Deep Purple is saying, I like the unrefined visual of VHS better. I don't like super sharp images. Maybe I'm weird. No, actually, VHS and VCRs have a nostalgic, I guess, affection all their own, I would say. Isn't that right, Josh?
You know what? I didn't even notice like a lot of the issues with VHS tapes, like the lines going through the screen until I went to DVD and then went back to watching VHS tapes. Like if DVD never came out, like what ignorance is bliss, I would never have known.
I was watching the original Dune, the movie, the 1984 version with David Lynch on Netflix the other day, and you can see they didn't get the best copy because you see the lines, you see the marks in the film negative, you see like maybe I don't know cigarette burns and things of that nature. You see the film grain, the famed film grain from movies of that era. It's just so funny because it you would normally be kind of mad about it, but
Yeah.
looking at it now, it just makes you more nostalgic.
Yeah, absolutely. I always want to go back and watch VHS tapes. I just never have the time to do it.
Oh my gosh, I'm watching that Dune because I'm really just looking forward to seeing Dune Part 2 here coming up in November. Although it is now being rumored that they may be pushing it back because, of course, the
Yeah, of
SAG-AFTRA
course.
strike. So
Surprise, surprise.
yeah, so as of now, it's still for November 3rd, but I'm not betting my house on it that'll land on that date. So we'll see what happens. But it is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And my friend, before we head on out, want to talk about Xbox Games Pass. But first, Devotion has a question. Which subscription platform has the best movie selection? Is it Netflix? That
I'm
depends
gonna
on the
say
movies you like.
it does. Yeah, I'm gonna say Max does. Like they have a ton of movies that, we were talking about VHS tapes that originally premiered on VHS tapes. A lot of stuff from the 90s all the way up to the mid 2000s. Like they have an amazing collection of things, especially if you're nostalgic.
Absolutely. But if you're more of a sci-fi fan, you like your Star Trek and a lot of things that Paramount has put out over the years,
Mm.
might want to lean towards Paramount Plus. Or if you're like, a lot of family friendly stuff or kind of like got the kids in the house, you're going to have to lean to Disney Plus. It all depends on your tastes,
Yeah.
but I'd say Max before they started taking stuff off was the best streaming service
Yeah.
for the library. They still have a great library, but it was better before the merger and all that stuff that that's now happened to them since.
Yeah. I think how much is Max? Max is like what, 16, 17 a
Six,
month?
yeah, they're in that Netflix range as far as the price is concerned.
Yeah, but I mean, and that you can always just pay for it and watch what you want, mine the content, and then not pay for another month of it.
There you go. But also as well, Netflix, which just reported almost getting another 6 million subscribers, said that the password sharing crackdown didn't harm them much at all. Of course, that's what they're going to tell you. And of course, the numbers are there. I guess the proof is in the pudding, and they did prove it out that they've gained another 6 million subscribers. So the juggernaut as Netflix is still going on, my friend. Even though I
Yeah.
think their content this year has been somewhat lackluster, it still proves that people love Netflix.
People do love Netflix, and Netflix puts out like they don't have a bunch of stuff to like keep you there, but they put out enough stuff consistently to make it worth like keeping that subscription going.
Yeah, I agree, my friend. Amazon Prime has been dropping the ball through the wire. You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Josh, Josh has had to hear my rants over the years on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime had the opportunity because remember, a long time ago, Amazon had a library of just stuff. It was just an extra. Amazon Prime Video was just an extra free option that nobody seemed to care about, that they didn't even seem to care about. And as Netflix grew and passed them up and passed them by as far as on a video scale, they didn't really do anything about it. Then they just realized over the course of the past 5 years, hey, we've got this thing called Prime Video. Let's go ahead and start making it something worthwhile. They had the opportunity to become number one. Sony Crackle with the Sony
Oh, that's
library.
right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's something I say. I've told Melinda before, if I ever wanted to do a documentary, if I ever had enough money to do documentary, I would love to do on Sony Crackle. What happened to Sony Crackle? All these different entities that had a chance to be the next Netflix that ultimately didn't become the next Netflix, and why they all messed up outside of Netflix.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. What happened to it all?
Through the Wire says Bezos needs to really invest in Prime. The library is lacking. It's getting better. It's a little better through. I mean, there is some stuff there again with the Bond. They've got the stuff from United Artists with all the Bond movies there. Of course, they got the boys. They've got some other interesting things that they've actually thrown out there in the past 2-3 years. But you're right; it's not anywhere near where it needs to be or near where it should have been for what they have. So yeah, it's definitely something that they could have gotten a lot more and could have gotten a lot better, and have now just finally started to realize the value of having Amazon Prime Video. So they're trying to slowly get behind, in front of the eight ball. They've been behind the eight ball for a time now, so hopefully things will get better with them. But before we head on out, my friend, oh, Heavy Duty says I can't view it. Again, that's a part of what's going on with Amazon Prime. the capabilities of it. So I definitely agree with you there, heavy duty. But before we head on out, my friend, Xbox in its glory of winning the battle against the FTC and possibly someday sooner rather than later closing the deal finally for Activision Blizzard, they decided to go ahead and drop something. Actually got leaked out, so they actually had to go ahead and drop it there, that games with gold, which actually nobody cared about because the games were not really that, they were really lackluster in the past 3 years as far as really putting games out there that were of any quality, has decided to be ditched for a new series of different plans on Games Pass, where you have Games Pass Core, Games Pass Console, Games Pass PC, and Games Pass Ultimate, getting you anywhere from $9.99 to $10.99 to $16.99 a month if you're buying it on a monthly basis. Although if you buy it on a yearly basis, it can get you a substantial savings. So seeing that's the case, my friend, looking at it, what were your thoughts on it when you heard about it initially? And are you like a lot of people out there that didn't like the confused messaging that's being brought out, especially after the victory by Xbox?
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Sony trying to roll out their, their
Although
PlayStation Pro, game
their
streaming.
tiers, yeah,
Their
those tiers.
tiers, yeah. That's what it reminded me of, and I was not a fan of it. I love Games Pass Ultimate, and I will continue to pay for it, but you don't need different tiers. Like that's just that doesn't make any sense to me. That this feels like a money grab. If people want to play a lot of these games, they'll pay the $15 a month for it. It's not it's you don't need all these tiers.
No, you don't. I don't think you do. I think it's short-sighted of them. Again, I understand getting rid of the games of gold part because that was just a service where you're paying X amount a month, just basically for online multiplayer and then getting a couple extra games. I really am kind of sad to see that multiplayer has to be a purchase. It has to be a feature that's purchased. Really don't think that's really good at all of all these
Yeah.
different manufacturers to do. I really think that's a should be a right instead of a privilege that you have to pay for as a gamer. But I'm not at Xbox. I can't make these things happen where it's free multiplayer for everyone. Although it is for free to play games. Think of that, Josh. If you go to your Xbox right now, you play a free to play game, it's free for you. But if you want to play a paid game, you've got to go ahead and pay for that as well.
Yes, you do, and I do not necessarily agree with that. And Condor, to answer your question, I am in Texas, Central
Yes.
Texas.
Gerald, is the headset you have on the same one you use for music, movies, and games? Actually, yes. I usually try to keep going ahead and keep the same thing. Although I am looking for another one because this is starting to get beat up on the inside. My favorite one that I used over years was an Altic Lansing one. And that one was really, really good for me. I really had a lot. I used that one for 7 years, and as far as that's concerned, so that was really what was Altic Lansing? That was no. So you got right here, Audio Technica. My bad, Audio Technica. That one I used for about 6 years on the show. In fact, I used it on the early days, up until a couple years ago for till last year, until for the show as well for Lakers Fast Break. So yeah, that I like to use. This one I do use right now for my gaming purposes, but yeah, I'd like to get something a little different now, especially with a better mic because this one's just a little bit too heavy. But my friend, before we head on out, I do want to mention that the different tiers it has created so much confusion as far as in the Xbox realm. Wanted to go ahead and mention that, yeah, it's kind of difficult if you're new or you're interested in Xbox, especially after the ruling. You've got your core Games Pass, which is online console. You've got your online multiplayer. You've got a choice of 25 somewhat newish, should I say? How about recent? How about recent titles, like maybe 2, 3 years old in many cases, and then also deals and discounts. That's what's available at the core. The console, different. The console Games Pass plan. That's the one I think confuses everybody, Josh, because you don't get multiplayer, but you do get new games on day one, which absolutely just confuses me on that one. Why they would go ahead and put that, it's in lieu of core. The PC one where you get EA Play, you get a whole bunch of games on PC, and then of course you get everything as far as the console. I think multiplayer as well on that. Of course, they can't regulate that on PC because it's not That's a little bit more broadbanded. But Ultimate, you get that's the one that you have that has everything and as far as online and the new games day one. But yeah, it's very confusing, my friend, especially the console throwing out ones that if you don't want to be on online multiplayer, but you want a service that's going to get you those new games, those first party new games from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And otherwise, why are you paying for it? That doesn't really make sense. You might as well just buy like well, they don't have the Xbox Gold anymore, but yeah, it doesn't make sense to have an online gaming platform if you're not going to use it to play games day one. Endorphin, I'm a huge fan of brisket. Like I get brisket on everything out here. Like they have a taco shop up the street that has brisket tacos. One of the most amazing things I've ever had in my life.
There you go. Absolutely. Brisket and everything. So now we know what the missus is going to get him for Christmas. Brisket, brisket, brisket. There you
One
go.
can only hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So your overall thoughts on the Xbox Games Pass now tiers? Again, I just think it was needless. It was needless to go this road. They're trying to cover their bases, but also make sure to try and wean you and lean you over that to that Xbox Games Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, I see that they're trying to they're creating accessibility, but sometimes that much accessibility can be a hindrance to, the overall goal that they seem to have set. I still think that Xbox the Games Pass Ultimate, sorry, is the best deal out there for streaming games, period.
Agreed. Couldn't agree with you more on that, which I know irritates the higher ups at Activision and Sony, and they're irritated that it is the way it is, but it is the best deal in gaming, bar none.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what are your thoughts out there on all the different changes to Xbox Games Pass? Are you liking all the different choices, or do you think it just makes it more confusing? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, I've had a great chat room. Appreciate everyone stopping by. I know a lot of you I see at the Lakers Fast Break, and is most appreciated that you went and stopped by the Pop Culture Cosmos. But my friend, Mr. Happy Hoarder Collectibles, any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, we're actually sometime in August. We're going to be dropping the Comic Con collectibles on the Happy Hoarder website. We just can't post them until Comic Con is over. But yeah, if you're interested in picking any of those up, definitely stop by the website, check it out.
Sky Dweller says now they're craving brisket right now, but they have no place to. That
I
stinks.
it is crazy. Like the only place in Texas, everywhere has brisket, but once you leave Texas, like brisket is not so common anymore.
Las Vegas has its share of barbecue places, so it's not that hard to find. SoCal, I'd say you're right. It's a little hard to find in SoCal where we both are
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is Dickie's Barbecue Pit was like the only place I remember that had brisket.
Yeah. I agree with you, my friend. You know what? Back Loves Barbecue, the restaurant in SoCal. I remember that was my first introduction to barbecue as a kid was Loves. It was
Yeah,
yeah. It's a
that's
small
right.
chain back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Lifted, it's funny you mentioned that. If you ask anyone out here for tri-tip, they like laugh at you because that is a California cut and they're not like overly fond of like things that represent California out here.
I like tri-tip. Sorry.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember going to Costco and getting like a ready-made tri-tip, taking it home and eating it. It was good.
Yeah, yeah. Can't fault that. I'll tell you what, though, had some great New York steak last night from the hibachi that they made it for us right there. So I always love the show and the performance on that. Hibachi is always great. If you get a chance to go to your favorite hibachi and have some steak, tri-tip, chicken, salmon, fish, just go ahead and enjoy it. It's a good time indeed. But Blue Magic says just had tri-tip tonight. There you go. See, tri-tip is still popular, my friend.
People like it. People like it.
All right. Well, thanks so much again for joining us. It is Josh Pederson and me, Gerald Glassford. Please, if you're interested in buying any awesome collectibles, please head on over to, of course, happyhoardercollectibles.com. Again, more Barbie on the way with Happy Hoarder Collectibles, indeed. No vegans allowed in the pop culture cosmos. Hey, if they like and subscribe, that's okay. It's okay by me. It's okay. Though I am a carnivore. Carnivore indeed. So for Josh Pederson, it's Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. It's not overhyped. Tri-tip is good, Condor. Have a good one, everyone. Be safe.